Fears of more lockdowns in China on concern about a resurgence in COVID-19 cases. Now, this after a new Omicron subvariant, the most contagious yet, was detected in the northwestern province of Shaanxi. Now, the provincial capital Xi'an, that's home to 13 million residents, is in a week-long partial lockdown after a handful of cases were reported in recent days. Lo Minmin tells us more.
A 7-day closure of public venues, primary and secondary schools, and rural markets went into effect in Xi'an on Wednesday after 18 cases of a highly transmissible Omicron subvariant were found there. It's the first major Chinese city to declare a fight against the BA.5 subvariant of the contagious Omicron virus, which is seen as more infectious than the BA.2 subvariant found in earlier outbreaks in China. Shaanxi Governor Zhao Yide said the province's cities should enter a wartime state and ramp up screening of travelers. This is the second time that Xi'an has had a COVID outbreak. Last year, the city was locked down for a month after thousands of COVID cases were detected there. Cases of the new variant are also believed to have spread to Beijing. The capital city is now making vaccination a requirement to enter public venues starting next Monday.
Meanwhile, here in Shanghai, frustration on the ground as long lines formed for swab tests. City officials ordered 2 new rounds of mass testing to be carried out within 3 days across most of the city, less than 2 weeks after Shanghai declared 0 new COVID cases after 2 months of harsh lockdown. On Tuesday, 24 new cases linked to a karaoke bar were detected, and some compounds are put back into lockdown.
And in neighboring Anhui province, 1.7 million residents in 2 counties have been ordered to stay home as of Tuesday after it logged over 200 cases, making it the largest flare-up in the country now. China is the last major economy to keep up with the zero-COVID strategy, deploying snap lockdowns, mass testing, and travel curbs to weed out the virus. Just last week, President Xi Jinping reiterated the country's dynamic zero-COVID policy on a visit to the city of Wuhan, where COVID was first reported. He said it was better to incur temporary economic costs than to harm the lives and health of the people. He said that accepting COVID as endemic would have unimaginable consequences in China. Lo Minmin, CNA, Shanghai.
Macau has locked down one of the city's most famous hotels, the Grand Lisboa. Now, this comes after more than a dozen COVID-19 cases were detected yesterday. No one is allowed to exit or enter the Grand Lisboa and at least 16 other buildings across the special Chinese administrative region. And the city is struggling to contain its worst ever virus outbreak. Infections are spreading rapidly in the world's biggest gambling hub. Authorities have placed more than 13,000 people under quarantine. The territory has recorded more than 900 coronavirus infections since mid-June. Officials have stopped short of imposing a full-scale lockdown, but residents have been asked to stay home and they must take part in 3 citywide COVID-19 tests this week. Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee says he hopes Chinese officials can meet him halfway to reopen the border with the city. He's noted that Beijing is concerned as the territory continues to report about 2,000 COVID-19 cases a day. Mr. Lee says that he's communicating with mainland authorities to come up with a plan for easing cross-border travel. The city's new chief executive also reiterated that he's also working on shortening hotel quarantine for international arrivals coming to Hong Kong. At the same time, he says that he doesn't agree with calls to live with the virus. He insists the city can't afford to allow infections to increase arbitrarily, echoing China's zero-tolerance policy. Hong Kong's prolonged border curbs and strict quarantine policy have fueled anger and frustration among the business community. They've been calling for the full reopening of international borders.